Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Myth-Busting Locksmith. Today, this is a basic introduction to Mortice locks and the different types that are out there. Now, on the board, we have an era fortress lock. So, starting at the top, we have the 5 levers that are all numbered so that you can see at what position the gate is here, where this bolt will slide through this part when all the levers are lined up. Now, if you're looking to practice cutting keys by hand, or you want to keep the lock but stop people using the old key to open the lock, what you can do is rearrange the order of these and then cut a new key by hand. This part here is the back with an anti-drill plate, which is designed to stop people drilling straight through and destroying the lock and being able to open the lock and therefore open the door. You have the curtain here with a long part here and a shorter part just underneath here. You have a very strong spring which will hold the curtain in the right position in the lock. You have the bolt with obviously the bolt here and obviously the bolt stump, and then the little part here that, as explained, will slide through the gates here when it is lined up correctly. And you have the bolt and the main shell. You also have the little springs on the levers here, which are designed to hold them in place, and as you turn the key, we'll make sure that they move in the correct position. Now, we are going to put this one back together, and then we're going to compare it to some more complicated looking locks. So, to begin, and of course locksmiths need the patience of a saint, because these things are spring loaded, and sometimes it is like trying to defuse some sort of bomb, because if you lose one part, the whole thing will burst apart and bits will go everywhere, and you can spend days trying to find them again. So it is a very fiddly and potentially complicated but simple process. So the spring goes on here, so it is held under pressure, and what we are doing is we are lining up the, let's come off, we're going to line up the plates so that the bolt stump is going through the gap. So of course, real videos in real time shows the problems you can have when little springs like this come apart. But this is why these videos are slightly longer sometimes, because it's showing you the real issues we have when things don't go according to plan. Right. Okay, let's try again. So of course these have to be lined up and the little springs in the right position. So one spring on top of the other. I think we've lost one there. Excuse me. Now, I believe one of those little springs have fallen off, but we're going to ignore that for the time being, because this is just a demonstration of how to reassemble these. But of course, on the job, you would rescue the little spring that I think has come loose, because otherwise that lever will not work. So for all you sharp eyes out there, we are leaving that spring off for the time being. Right. So everything is in place, and this is what it looks like. And as you can see, all the springs are pushing against this here, which as they go up, there is some resistance because they're forcing them down. So of course, when the bolt either slides in or out, and we will push it once it's all together, they will all mix up, and it is only when they are lined that this gap is created and the bolt is able to be pulled across. When the key turns, moves the curtain against the spring, the curtain turns round, the levers lift, and the door will unlock. So as you can see, the curtain here sticks slightly out the top to hold it in position. So now that it's put back together again, and you can see this is what it looks like. A simple lock, but a very effective lock. And anti-drill plate here, and now the lock is locked. So we of course need a key to open it. As you can see, the bolt is quite thick, so really designed as a high security one because it's going to take a lot of sawing to get through that. Anti-drill plate on both sides, so it doesn't matter which side they attack it from, you are not getting in this lock in a rush. So put that one there, and we will have a look at a couple of other locks for you. So first of all, we have this one, and as you can see, it is a low lift because you only need to lift them up a little bit for the bolt which is here to go through here, and you see full skates here and a curve effectively of full skate here, making it harder to pick because if the bolt goes into those, they're going to get stuck and you are going to have to try and get them out to be able to pick the lock and have the bolt go through the gap here to be able to open the door. Little springs down here, curtain here, with a small part here, so holding it all together nice and tight. And again, as you can see, quite a thick bolt, so a good security feature. This one, much more complicated, I believe is a leg, because leg normally come in white or yellow, whereas the red ones, there is a whole range of locks that come in red. So when you're looking through the keyhole to try and identify the lock, there are many, many red ones, but leg, white, as I say, and yellow. And if they are more than about 10 years old, I would say now, if we're in 2023, you're likely to see green ones. Now this is an H gate because it looks like an H, and as you can see, this is where the bolt would need to come through the gates here. This is a sash lock, so you've got an extra part here with a spring here. Of course, when you're turning the handle, this would secure the door, even if you don't lock it, but of course locking it will stop people getting in without the key. And as you can see, quite a nice setup. Little stump this here, holding this part, so they'll go up and down. So potentially easier to pick because there's less of a sort of complicated mechanism. A simple gate to get through, and this would probably be easier, I think, to pick open. Curtain here, although it's not lined up. So although it looks quite fancy, it will probably be easier to pick because you don't have lots of false gates. Now this one, although simpler to look at, as you can see, a very thin bar here that needs to go through here, and as you can see, full skates here, full skates here, and full skates here. And again, a low lift because it's thin at the top, so you don't need to lift it very far. But of course, if you lift it too far, you have all of this full skate here. So looking at this also is quite a low lift because it's very thin at the top. Now other locks you'll get that will be thicker here, this thick part here will be up here, so it'll be a high lift because you have to lift them high up. And as you can see with the curtain here and the spring here, spring loaded, and spring loaded. So they are all designed to be well engineered, but spring loaded, so good to use with a key, difficult to pick. And if you're taking these apart, they are very fiddly because of course, if that spring moves and these all go flying, they are very tricky to put back in place. So you do need to be good with your hands, and you do need to have a lot of patience to do these. Now, as you can see, these have all got, these two have got square bolts. This has got a slightly oval bolt. There's no real security measure for that. And as you can see, this one here has, although the top parts are missing, you can see there's like an extra security feature in the bolt to make it a little more secure. And some of these have little round things here, so that if you're trying to saw through it with a hacksaw, the little rollers inside will actually turn around with the blade, so it'll be a lot harder to cut with a hacksaw because they'll roll with the blade. So generally speaking, they are very solid, they are well made. You can have 3 or 5 lever locks generally, and I believe you should have 5 levers for insurance purposes, although don't quote me on it. Although 3 are very secure, 5 is the best thing to put in your front door. So that is it for today. And just as a small final thing for you, this is the lock we dissected, and this is what the key looks like. So that is it for today. I hope you've enjoyed this introduction to mortise locks, and I hope you'll come back for more and potentially subscribe and like these videos and let me know what you think. And maybe next time we will look at dissecting one of these locks, and in the future we will look at how easy or how hard it is to pick one of these locks. But for the time being, that's it. So I hope you've enjoyed watching. Please do join me again soon. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.